Live. Now you should go to my public page and see the link. If you don't see it, then go ahead and hit refresh. Just share it as you'd like, and I'm going to share it to my personal page. For those of you joining us, we will be live here in 2 seconds. Just give us a couple of moments. My name is Brendan Lyons, candidate for Legislative District 9, State House of Representatives, joined with Tim Medcoff. We'll be talking about the CARES Act. We'll be talking about tort reform and opening up businesses. As we go ahead and get started here, Tim, would you like to give your introduction and share with our audience a bit of your background?
Sure, happy to do it, Brendan. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to speak with you and your followers with respect to these important issues. So I'm not from Tucson originally. I moved here for law school in 1995, fell in love with our community and the people, and have been here ever since. I've been practicing law for 22 years now, mostly in the labor and employment area. I do other stuff as a lot of attorneys that practice in Tucson have to do, because it's hard to specialize in our town in just one area in particular. And I've been big firm trained, basically doing mostly defense work, some plaintiff's work from time to time on personal injury, trip and falls, things of that nature, but mostly labor and employment, property, personal injury, defense, wrongful death cases, catastrophic personal injuries, those sort of things. I have been blessed in lots of different ways to be surrounded by people a lot smarter than me. That makes me look good and gives me an opportunity to do things like help out in the community in different ways. I sit on nonprofit boards, serve as outside counsel to a number of nonprofits in our community. And I'm currently the board chair for the Tucson Metro Chamber of Commerce, which brings me a lot of joy to be working with a lot of small business owners through this crisis. I know for small business owners in particular, this shutdown and closure of the economy has been very difficult to their bottom line. It's been hard for them as human beings trying to manage their personnel. And in all honesty, this crisis is why I became a lawyer, because it gives me an opportunity to really make a difference and help people in their times of need. So I've been very busy, which is obviously a good thing for me as a lawyer, but not necessarily a great thing for clients who are having to call me in a panic about what to do under this situation. So it has been invigorating, though, in some respects, to learn new areas of the law and ebb and flow and being able to help clients through this crisis. So happy to answer any questions that you or any of your clients and or followers may have.
Well, thank you very much again for joining us. And I guess that's a nice segue into what made you decide to become the chairman of the Tucson Metro Chamber.
So, for me, it's about making a difference. I became a lawyer because I'm a problem solver. I'm a helper by nature. That's what I want to do. When I dropped my son off for school every day, when I was doing it anyway, I would tell him every day when I'd say goodbye to him, hey, make a difference in some way, shape, or form today, whether that's opening the door for somebody or helping one of your classmates or a teacher. And to me, that's what the chamber does. We help people day in, day out, small business owners, medium and large business owners, by connecting them with other business owners that could potentially lead to business, and then advocating on behalf of our members to ensure that legislation that I know you hope to be shaping here in the near future takes into consideration the interests of the business community. And so for me, it was about joining other like-minded people, working as a team to collaborate with others, both elected officials and community and business leaders, to advance the interests of Tucson. As we all know, Tucson is a great place, but it can be better. And one of the ways it can be better is to give the microphone to the right people and work together collaboratively to advance the interests of our community. And that's what the chamber is allowing me to do.
COVID has obviously plagued our business community, and there's a couple incentives that have been brought about, such as the CARES Act. How many businesses do you know have applied for the CARES Act throughout Arizona, and how many have actually received funding, if you happen to know that answer?
Sure. So I don't know exactly how many businesses have applied, but I can tell you it's tens of thousands that have applied, because I know tens of thousands of Arizona businesses have been approved for funding. The SBA has published a lot of information related to the Paycheck Protection Program. Some of this is dated, but I want to give you just context. So when the initial round of applications went through for the Paycheck Protection Program, after the 1 week it was in existence, 11,000 Arizona businesses had applied and been approved for over $3.5 billion. Since then, with the second round of the PPP program, that number has now jumped up to 51,000 businesses in Arizona that have been approved for another $4 billion on top of the $3.5 billion the first round. So what that means is that the first round, there were a lot of bigger businesses that were applying for the PPP. And so that number's jumped from about 11,000 to 51,000 businesses, which means a lot more small businesses have been applying and been approved in the last month for the PPP program, which is exactly why Congress enacted it in the first place, was to help small businesses overcome this crisis.
Well, I think that's a nice segue here. For those of you just joining us, I'm joined here by Timothy Medcoff. He's a partner of Farhang Metcoff, attorney law firm. And he's also the chairman of the Tucson Metro Chamber. Myself and Brendan Lyons, I'm running for Legislative District 9 State House of Representatives. We're holding these weekly webinars to both educate yourselves and to highlight the need of policy and protection systems for not only Southern Arizona, but our state. We're currently talking about small businesses, and Tim, many small businesses don't want to take on more debt. Is there any assistance out there that doesn't add to their financial obligations?
So there's a couple things. One, to the extent the EIDL loan is in operation, I know it had been shut down for a while. So that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It provides a $10,000 grant immediately upon applying, whether you're approved or not. So if you're a business owner and you need some immediate influx of cash, that's a $10,000 grant that can be spent on anything related to your business, whether that's payroll costs, inventory, etc. That being said, most small business owners are applying for the Payroll Protection Program under the CARES Act. The EIDL money cannot be used for the same purpose as the PPP money. And the PPP, really the purpose of that is to keep people gainfully employed for an 8-week period after you get funded for that loan. It is initially a loan, but if you spend the money on payroll costs and or rent or mortgage interest, utilities, and things of that nature at a 20, the non-payroll cost can't be more than 25%. The payroll costs need to be 75% of those monies that you apply for. If you spend that within the 8-week period, then it would be forgiven potentially at 100% as long as you meet the employee threshold numbers. It starts as a loan, but there's interest deferments for the first 6 months, so you don't have to pay any money. There's no personal guarantees, no collateral. It's at a 1% interest for a 2-year period. So if you don't spend all the money and or it's not forgiven through the Payroll Protection Program and the criteria that they've set up, then you can pay it back at no prepayment penalty. And or you can keep it. As I've talked to some business owners, you can treat it as a really smoking deal on a line of credit, because prior to this crisis, there'd be no way to get a 1% no guaranteed loan from any lender. So this is a short-term protection for helping you keep your doors open and re-employ your employees. But it also, if you don't spend all the money through that loan, you can pay it back for no penalty with just a small amount of interest that you might have to pay. And you could also treat it as a line of credit, which is going to be better than anything that you might get from a private lender.
Oh, thank you very much. So for the unfortunate circumstances of those who are laid off from their jobs, what are the eligibility requirements for employees looking to qualify for unemployment benefits?
So the good news for employees, I mean, nobody likes to lose their job or be on unemployment. And this has actually been really traumatic for a lot of employees because they're applying for unemployment benefits for the very first time. So the good news, though, under the CARES Act, one of the other things that Congress did is they expanded unemployment benefits. So if you're self-employed, if you're a gig worker, you're an independent contractor, you're eligible potentially for unemployment benefits. Now, one of the things that you need to do to qualify for unemployment is you had to make a certain amount of money over a certain period of time prior to this crisis, because they don't want people that were just basically not working applying for unemployment benefits. Again, the purpose for unemployment is to give you a bridge until you get back to work. So you know, in order to have a bridge, you have to actually be working before you apply for benefits. So that's an eligibility threshold. But if you do qualify for unemployment benefits, if you get $1 from the state Department of Economic Security from unemployment benefits, so for instance, your hours have been reduced, or you've been furloughed entirely where you're not working at all because of COVID-19, then you can apply for unemployment benefits. It's going to be retroactive to the date and time which your hours were cut or your job basically dried up for a period of time. And as long as you qualify for $1 of the $240 per week that the state provides, then the CARES Act stimulus package of $600 would kick in. So in essence, you would make $840 a week for the next few weeks until July 31st of this year. So that's a nice bridge, and on top of the stimulus dollars of the $1,200 up to $1,200 for a married couple that you might qualify for, or the individual, I should say, $1,200 per individual under the stimulus package. So again, it's additional bridge to help people through this crisis when they're not able to work through no fault of their own.
How long are these benefits going to be available, and do they need to reapply weekly?
So the benefits themselves on the $600 is eligible through July 31st of this year. In addition, the CARES Act expands traditional time periods for unemployment benefits. It used to be under state law 26 weeks. It's now expanded to 39 weeks under the federal law, and that is in effect till the end of this year, December 31st of 2020.
And it's my understanding that there are tax reliefs included in the CARES Act, such as a payroll tax deferment and a credit for sick and family leave. Can you tell me, or can you tell our audience more about that?
Sure. So on the payroll tax deferment, if you apply for a PPP, until that loan is actually forgiven, which is going to be roughly about 2 months to, or actually 3 months to 4 months after you get funded, during that period of time, whatever payroll taxes that you might have to pay to Uncle Sam, you can seek a deferment on that so that you pay half of it at the end of 2021 and the other half at the end of 2022. So again, it just creates a little bit more cash flow for the business owner. So that's definitely an option that's available. In addition, if somebody's sick from COVID-19, or they're caring for somebody who's sick, or they have kids that are home from school because of COVID-19, under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, it also creates some payroll tax benefits for the employer. So potentially dollar for dollar, depending on how much you're paying for your employee, if hypothetically, Brendan, you work for me and you're sick with COVID-19, then you get up to 2 weeks of paid emergency paid sick leave. That would be paid up to $511 per day in benefits to you. So hypothetically, if you're making $400 a day working for me, then you would get paid your regular salary for that 80 hours that you're out recovering from COVID-19. And then me as the owner, I would be eligible for 400 times 5 is $2,000 times 2 weeks is $4,000, that I can reduce my payroll exposure that I got to pay to Uncle Sam dollar for dollar. So if my payroll liability to Uncle Sam would be $10,000, I now have to write a check for $6,000 to Uncle Sam because I get that credit for the time that you're away from work. So that's a nice benefit that the federal government has put in to help encourage people to stay home when they're sick. Now, you do have to meet the qualifications and actually be diagnosed with COVID-19 or be waiting for a diagnosis from a doctor. So before an employer goes and just seeks that credit unilaterally, they're going to need to talk to their accountant or their attorney to verify that they've got all of the necessary paperwork to qualify for that payroll credit.
Wow. Again, thank you very much for this feedback. For our viewers watching right now, if you have questions, whether it's on my personal page, my public page, or even in the event page, please go ahead and submit those questions. Our team is actively monitoring those, and we'll be able to ask Tim. Again, Tim is a wealth of knowledge and certainly a credible source on this topic. Tim, could you tell me so business owners are concerned about potential coronavirus-related lawsuits and are looking for a liability waiver. Do you see anything like that in the pipeline? And if so, what would that need to look like?
Sure. It's a great question. It's obviously an issue up for a lot of debate on Capitol Hill. So first and foremost, what I tell business owners is for your employees, if they can prove that they contracted coronavirus at work, then your workers' comp carrier is going to be potentially liable to cover that. Now, I say potentially because causation is going to be a huge issue here as to whether or not the employee actually contracted the virus at work. So workers' comp should cover most employers in that situation and scenario. However, there's other issues or fallout. Let's say a customer contracts coronavirus at your place of business, or your employee takes the virus home and infects their significant other or one of their other household members, their kids or somebody like that. Those are not protected by workers' compensation. So if a vendor comes in and gets sick, a customer comes in and gets sick, or your employee takes it home and gets somebody sick, those are where an employer potentially could face liability or a claim at least. And right now, there's no real insurance out there that covers this loss, which is why the Republicans on Capitol Hill have been talking about providing some sort of immunity to employers if they're basically acting in good faith and are not being reckless with respect to their work environment. So one, what I've been telling employers is you really need to create good, sound policies from a communication standpoint, whether that's informing customers and employees. These are our new safety protocols that you must follow, such as wearing a mask, engaging in social distancing, having very thorough cleaning, sanitation policies, especially if high touch areas and things of that nature. And so that way you can show that you're doing everything in your power to limit the potential transmission or exposure of employees, vendors, or clients in your workplace. But that being said, I think that there is a strong likelihood or possibility that as a compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans with another stimulus package, because there will be another stimulus package, in my opinion. And if that happens, I think in order for it to happen, the Democrats will get more money, which is what they want for different things that frankly need to get paid, whether that's universities, hospitals, state, local governments, for instance, have all been hit by this virus and haven't been protected yet. And in exchange, the Republicans will want some sort of qualified immunity for employers from those sort of claims that we've been talking about.
Well, so, and I can attest to that too. I just got a haircut yesterday and they had those very strict cleaning policies in place that they were certainly adhering to. As you know, I'm running for Legislative District 9 State House of Representatives. And for those viewers, that area basically runs the length of the foothills here in southern Arizona from Sabino Canyon all the way west to I-10. It goes as far south as Speedway between Craycroft and Campbell, including areas of Casas Adobes, Flowing Wells, Tucson and Skyline Country Club, the Sabino Canyon area once again. And And Tim, as the chairman of the Tucson Metro Chamber of Commerce, you represent small businesses across all of Southern Arizona. What do you think I can do once I'm elected to help strengthen those businesses struggling to survive?
Sure, that's a great question, and obviously, you have my full support, and I hope you are able to move up to the legislature and help represent Southern Arizona, which I know you'll do very effectively. But I think the key is just having somebody like you who's a like-minded business owner. I know you run a nonprofit organization to try to keep people safe while they're riding bikes on our public roadways. And as a business owner yourself, a nonprofit is still a business at the end of the day, and you have to deal with the same issues that all business owners have to deal with, and that is manage people and make sure that the money's coming in exceed the money's going out. Even for a nonprofit, you need to do that to promote the mission in perpetuity. So taking that sort of common sense knowledge that you have and really analyzing issues and thinking about it from a business owner's perspective, is going to be important for you, because that will help guide the legislation that gets put in place. At the end of the day, legislatures, in my opinion, almost all of them have at the bottom of their heart a desire to implement policies and procedures and laws that are in the best interest of our community. But sometimes when you're implementing those laws, you don't always think about it pragmatically about what impact is this going to have on a business owner and how he or she operates their business. And so, I would just encourage you to use that pragmatic side of your brain from running your business, and then continue to have open lines of communication with your constituents so that you know what is bothering them, what's keeping them up at night, so that you can represent your constituency to the best of your ability. And I know you will, bud.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you for joining me today. And before we end the session, will you please tell our audience how we met and why you believe in me and my candidacy?
So, Brendan, we've met through a lot of different charity events, as well as through your leadership, through ELC, Greater Tucson Leadership, and other things that you do in the community. We're both like-minded people in terms of it's about giving back and doing what we can to make Tucson a better place. And in all honesty, that's in part why I support you. I'm a registered independent. My wife is a staunch Democrat, and I'm a kind of more leaning right, moderate Republican. But you've got our vote because you're a business person who cares about our community. And I just look forward to helping you get elected, and then watching as you do what you do to make our community great. So thank you so much.
Thank you again, Tim. Your friendship means the world to me. And thank you for all of you for joining me today. And to learn more about me or my platform or policies, please go visit my website at Lyons4az.com and consider contributing to my campaign to help allowing me to serve you, give a voice to Southern Arizona. It would mean a tremendous amount. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for all who have joined us today.
Thank you. See you, Brandon.
See you, Tim.